بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى سيدنا محمد. Now the question is asked: if a person is if a person is if a person begins to start doing zikr, is it required for him to know the secret of that zikr? No, he doesn't have to know, because the person should do the dhikr for the sake of Allah, for loving Allah. Of course, there are uh, certain dhikr that are specific for certain things. Like, for instance, there is dhikr for getting married, there's dhikr for paying off debts, there's dhikr for having a child. These are required, but what is discouraged, or what is not nice, is that a person only remembers Allah when he has a need. So if he wants to pay off his debt, then only he'll do dhikr. Or if he wants to get married, he remembers Allah. If he doesn't want to get married, or if he gets married, is he going to stop doing dhikr? If he wants to have, for instance, children, he goes and does another type of dhikr. So if your wife doesn't get a child, or she gets a child, would you stop doing dhikr? So this is it is not something that is prohibited, but it is something that is not it's not nice that you do it. Just only uh, you remember Allah only when you have a need. So you so so you can do it for two reasons as well. You can do dhikr because you love Allah, because you want to remember Allah, and at the same time you have those other needs. So, but as Habib said, it is not required of a person to know the secret of the dhikr that he's doing. Like, for instance, a person doesn't know a person doesn't know uh, a person doesn't know that the dhikr has a secret. So the best thing is to remember Allah uh, in obedience to his order, his command, and secondly, uh, following the footsteps of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thirdly, to be part of those who are amongst those who are beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal. Then you can put whatever other intentions you want to put in, like that of uh, additional benefits that you want to have. Today we're going to cover a really important topic in the spiritual wayfaring of a murid. And this chapter, and this thing can impact the person's traversing the spiritual path. As in, a person could be praying in the night, he could be giving a lot of charity, he has a lot of good deeds that he does. uh, he does dhikr and salawat, but he has but his problem is that his food is haram. Then all of that is not right and is not accepted. It's like a person praying with clothes that are stolen. So here is a distinction. There is halal and there's haram. Halal is everything that Allah and the Prophet ﷺ forbade, and haram is everything that, sorry, halal is everything that Allah and Prophet ﷺ has permitted, and haram is everything that Allah and the Prophet ﷺ forbade. So haram refers to three things. Sorry, saying something is halal depends on three things. You can't say, for instance, reciting the Quran is halal. No, you say Quran, reading the Quran is sunnah, or you can't say praying is halal. No, you say praying is obligatory. Now, halal refers to three things specifically, and 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 it's actually one thing that splits into three. So the thing that it refers to is a rizq, which is your wealth, your provisions, and this wealth is split into three things. The first thing it splits into is food and drink. Second, to what you wear, and thirdly, to where you live. So halal refers to these three things. And the most important of these three is your food. Why? Because this enters into your body. The food that you eat, any morsel you put inside you, it comes inside your body and spreads through your blood. You're nourished with that. So he mentioned in the hadith that a person may be at a long journey where he is in a very difficult situation. He's covered in dust. He is his hair are not set because he's completely occupied with Allah Azza wa Jal, and his hair and his beard are covered in dust. So he may, and he may raise his hands saying Ya Rab, Ya Rab, Ya Rab, but it says his clothes are haram, his what he where he's going is haram, and sorry, his food is haram, his drinks is haram, his dress is haram. So how would Allah then accept his prayer? So as we said, the most important of these things is your food because that'll enter your body. Then he says, seeking halal is an obligation for every single Muslim. To seek food that is halal uh, from your halal, to provide for your food, for your drink, for your clothes, and for your house. So halal is of two types. Something that in its essence is halal, and the second thing is that you took that halal thing through halal means. Like for instance, you want to purchase a kilo of potatoes. What is the ruling of potatoes? Potatoes are halal. So the fruit seller or the vegetable seller says that these potatoes are for 2 dirhams. So you bought for him, but then you added one extra piece of potato into your bag without the seller knowing. So now it becomes haram. So what happened is that uh, it's so halal means something that is halal by its essence, and it's also halal by its source. Like and haram is also by its essence or by the way you got it. So for instance, things that are haram by their essence is like obviously swine, the pig, and then getting it through dubious means. So the things that differentiate between halal and haram are three things. What is different between halal and haram are three things. Firstly, halal is a lot more than haram. It, and it's more beneficial. It is more in abundance, and haram on the other hand is the opposite, which is it's a lot less. It's a lot less in quantity, and this is a response to the doubters who keep complaining that there's why do you keep calling things haram, haram, haram? Uh, Haram is a lot less, and secondly, haram has no barakah, no blessings. Halal has a lot more blessings. Haram, and we're not just talking about haram, even just doubtful things have no barakah. So haram is less than halal, there's no barakah in it, and it harms the person. The thing that Allah forbade, you should have no doubt that it will harm you, whether it's something that you eat or drink or wear. And we'll give examples too. We said halal are more than haram. Like for instance, if you look at the foods, if you want to categorize the food, uh, if you were to say, count from me, enumerate the things that are halal, we would say everything is halal except that which Allah forbade. And what are the things that Allah has forbidden? These are all mentioned in the verse, which are 10. So these 10 things are haram, and everything else is halal. Like the verse that mentions that the animal that is strangled or gorged or savaged by beast of prey, etc. And then there are things that become haram because of other things. So for instance, a person a person buys chicken and then he fries it in like the lard of swine. That makes it haram. Or he cooks it in a vessel that is prohibited. So if you want to enumerate what Allah has forbidden, then it's everything except these 10 things. So all the birds that you wish, all of the animals, all the cattle, all the which are referred to as an'am. And then as for seafood, all of seafood is halal. Everything except for a few, except for a few things. The sea, its water is purifying, and its inhabitants are halal to eat. So, but you see, unfortunately, the non-Muslims, they will only go for the swine, the pig, even though you have all these other options, but they want to go for the meat of the swine, and then they get diseases and sicknesses, and also it harms the body. It's not just something that Allah has made haram for no reason, uh, because Allah says that we made things for prohibited. We made the khaba'ith prohibited. What is khaba'ith? Khaba'ith are things that are harmful, that are polluted, that are foul. And then He says things that are haram in that or halal, halal except for he mentioned about clothes that should be halal, and for men, what are the clothes that are haram, that are halal for men? Everything except silk and gold. And for women, it's basically it's something that covers the aura, and it's not something and that is transparent, that doesn't see, is there's no see through, and there's no revealing of the figure. So the garment that covers you is that which is not revealing of the figure, and not see through. Unfortunately, now, as the Prophet ﷺ said, Kasiyatul Ariyat, women who his women are as if they're not dressed, even though they're dressed. A person. So for this reason, as for the man, what Allah has prohibited in its essence is silk, uh, and but that's permitted for women. And some have even added to this clothes that are worn by people who are profane, who are foul. Like for instance, like for instance, people wearing a dress with a symbol that refers to, let's say, for instance, the LGBTQ community. Because now that, for instance, the rainbow is there, is represents them. So the colors in general are all permissible, except some colors that have that have an effect on the person, like pure red color for men. Also, the things that are prohibited for men uh, is wearing gold. So all types of gold, whether it's in the form of a ring or bracelet or earrings. We see men wearing earrings as well. How can he be happy wearing earrings? And what worse is when they put the nose ring. Well, how is that in any way beautiful? It looks disgusting. It doesn't have even a portion of beauty in it. To have it in your nose or in your ears, even for a woman, in her nose or between her nostrils. All these things came from non-Muslims. It's not from Muslims, but because of social media, everything is now apparent. So for this reason, a man, for a man, anything that is gold, made from gold, is not permissible to be worn. and this impacts the quality, the manliness of a man. Somebody philosophizing this would say, what is wrong with just wearing a gold ring? uh, you don't have to know the reason. Allah has ordained this injunction, but there now we know that wearing gold jewelry basically impacts the manliness or the rujula of a man. And you see a lot of people of these other gender types. They're wearing um, gold, and they're wearing jewelry, or they're wearing clothes that are worn by women. So also clothes that are specifically for women is impermissible for men to wear, and likewise. And then there are clothes that are permissible in its essence, but they're impermissible because of what it entails. Like, for instance, wearing a dress that is worn by a non-Muslim, and or profane person, and you are wearing that dress, copying that non-Muslim. If you're doing that with that intention, it becomes haram. This person is so the dress by itself is not haram, but when it is connected to uh, the fact that it was worn by a non-Muslim, and it could be some non-Muslim who is completely covered in tattoos, and he takes photos, and he goes on a modeling show, and people and then people go to him for autographs. So things should be worn for the fact that they're permissible and with a good intention. So this is why we have been commanded to be like the righteous, because the people of the spiritual path say, if somebody's dressing changes, his character changes. That the dress changes the seerah, the personality of a person. Like, for instance, a man wearing clothes that are like uh, women, then they would have feminine qualities, and a woman wearing manly clothes will have masculine qualities, and both of these are cursed. Then he comes to maskan, which is basically where you live. A person should have a house that is permissible, halal. Like, you live in a house that you inherited, or you purchased, or was gifted to you, or you rented out. This is halal. This is permissible. Also, that this house is built using halal means, meaning maybe the owner, the developer of the building deals with interest, usury, or with drugs, and all of his income is from drugs, and he built that building, and you know 100% that the source of his risk, his provisions, are from, let's say, drugs. Then it becomes haram. Even though you might say, oh, it's cheap, it's amazing, the services, the charges are so less, the view is amazing, but it's haram. Habib will give us a sign from the Quran that describes the households of the people of Jannah. All of us in this world, any one of us all of us wish to live in a beautiful place in this world, and this is your right. But that this wish shouldn't make us want to get involved in haram things just for the sake of getting this house. Like for instance, a person wants to get a house, but this house is through impermissible uh, means, or like the house was made by an owner who deals in alcohol and drugs, etc. So, so if you leave that house and you lived in a house maybe where the specs are not that good and it's not that big for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, and you're pleased with Allah as your Lord, you say to Allah, "Oh Allah, I have all of these options in front of me, but because these oppose your religion, and this will stop me from being loved by you, I will not choose these and I'll go to this house." What will Allah say to these people? He says this in two verses. The first verse is, Allah promised those who believe in the hereafter uh, um, paradise under which rivers flow, and masakin tayyiba, households that are good. And here it's not specified where these households are. And is there a household in Jannah that is not? Is there a home in Jannah that is not tayyib? Of course, all of them are tayyib. So, so this can also refer to homes in this world. So somebody who chooses a house for the sake of Allah, then Allah will make it good for him. He'll make it tayyib, wholesome, and then another verse. From the meanings of masakin al-tayyiba, is in good houses, is not because they're not good because of their specs, like they're big or they have all of the amenities that you need, or they're comfortable in that sense. Good houses are good because of the inhabitants of the house and those who enter the house. And by the meaning of and one of the meanings of goodness is that the Prophet ﷺ visits you, because in paradise it is most of the Muslims will go to the Prophet ﷺ, but then there will be people whom the Prophet ﷺ will visit. May Allah make us from them. And from amongst them is such people, those who preferred who preferred the things that Allah that please Allah in this world. Like for instance, there are many places for them to stay, but there's no mosque there. The mosque is far away, and the home's specs are amazing, but the mosque is far away. So here there's also a test. Are you going to prefer the house and its specs, or are you going to prefer the give preference to the mosque? Also from the meanings of these tayyib houses, and from the means by which the Prophet ﷺ will visit you, is by you visiting the Prophet ﷺ at his grave. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, the one who visits me after I've passed away is as if he visits me while I'm alive. And the Prophet ﷺ, from his sunnah, is that he returns a visit with a visit. A person will say, someone may say that I can visit the Prophet by sending salams on the Prophet ﷺ. You're true that your salams will reach the Prophet ﷺ, but The one who goes and travels and visits, is he the same as the one who doesn't visit? It's impossible for them to be the same. Except the one who has an excuse. The one who doesn't have the right amount of money for traveling and for tickets, or he hasn't been given the visa. This one person has an excuse and he'll get the reward. But I'm talking about somebody who's saying, oh, I don't need to visit. The Prophet doesn't need you, but you're the one who's deprived. And we wish to visit him every single day and night. We ask Allah that He honors us with the opportunity to visit the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And how can we not wish that when the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever visits my grave, my intercession for him becomes obligatory. We ask Allah He does not deprive us from visiting him with ease and well-being and goodness. Then Imam Ghazali mentions also that he mentions the one who eats haram, his prayers are not accepted. Nothing is accepted of his. But that doesn't mean you don't pray. Somebody may say, well, since your food is haram, there's no point in praying. That's shaitan tricking you more. Because if you don't pray, you will do two harams. You'll do the haram of eating haram, and you'll also do the haram of skipping prayers. Uh, but maybe see if your prayer may not be accepted, but at least it's said that you prayed. But those who are tricked by shaitan, it will be said that they didn't even pray, they didn't even try. If prayer is not even excused for the one who has no water, a person has no water and no dust, sand. He has no dust to do tayammum. What will he do? Will I just sit in Shafi madhab? It says you do the prayer where you do the prayer where you have no means of purification. Does that mean you don't pray? It means you pray. So what is the solution? You continue praying, but leave what is haram. You start looking for another job or another means of provisions. And here comes a question. How do you know what is halal? Through two things. Through knowledge, seeking knowledge, and through asking. You need to learn. And the best is seeking sacred knowledge, so that you know what is halal and what is haram. You take from a teacher, you read to him, for instance, the book on jurisprudence, fiqh. You read, for instance, the rulings of prayer, of wudu, the rulings of buying and selling, the rulings of what means by usury. If you want to get married, you read the rulings of marriage. If you want to do hajj, you need the rulings of performing hajj. That is best. And if you can't learn, then you should at least ask. You have a project, a business project. What are the rulings of it? you don't know about the rulings, go to Mufti and ask, I have this project, what are the rulings on it? So you, in this, when you go and ask the sheikh, you say to yourself, if the sheikh says it's haram, I'm going to leave it. You don't say, oh, I'm going to look for another sheikh. And this is something that happened to Habib when he was a student at Azhar in Cairo. A person came to him, a, an Egyptian man came to him who was visiting him, and Habib got to know him. And he was a simple man. He's like just a modern, like, he had no beard. He was just a simple person. No turban, nothing. But he was respectful. How are you? How's everything? And he greeted Habib nicely. Then he asked Habib. Habib asked him, "What do you do?" He said, "I used to work, but I have a story behind it." And Habib asked, "What's the story behind? What's this?" He said, "I used to be young, and he said we were poor. He didn't have a father, so he was forced to work. And then what happened? He said he looked for work, and he said I couldn't find work anywhere except in a place that sells items for smoking like shisha and all of that. And he said I only found this job, and so I started working, and he had customers coming asking for cigarettes, etc., etc. And so he said, I know this is haram, but then there's some people who say it's makruh only, so I didn't get involved in it. So Habib saying, I heard this directly from this person. He said, then what happened? So this man said that while I was working, a respectful person came to him, and he said, why are you working here? He said, I'm working. He said, don't you know this is haram? He said, I don't know if it's haram. He said, this is a haram. And if you want to confirm, go to the muftis of Azhar. The, so this person said that he intended that the next day he's going to go to the mufti, and I said, he said to himself that if this mufti says it's haram, I will leave. So he went with the intention that he will leave haram, that he wants halal only. So he went with this intention. So if this sheikh says it's haram, I'll leave it. We'll look for another work. So when he entered the mufti, what did the mufti say? He said such and such and such. So the Mufti said, do you want direct answer? Stay away from this. The majority opinion is haram. So he said, Inna lillahi inna ilayhi rajiun. He said, Allah will give me something better in return. And Allah grant me. So while he was coming down, the Mufti, there was a friend of the Mufti who was a rich person, and he heard that question, and he heard that answer, and he said, so he called this person, this rich person, a wealthy person. He said, where do you work? What did you ask? And where do you work? He said, I work in this place where we sell all of these smoking items. And then I asked this mufti, and he said, it's haram, so I'm leaving this work. So this wealthy person said, asked him, what's your qualifications? He said, look, he told him his qualifications, and then he said, look, uh, I have a place that I need somebody to look after, and I need somebody who's God fearing, and I see that in you, and tomorrow you'll start your work. So imagine that Allah says, the one who fears Allah, Allah will find him a way. Allah will find for him a way, and He'll give him rizq from ways he could not imagine. And this is a person Habib met personally. So halal is you understand halal through you understand halal through learning, because there's a lot of subtleties in trade that are haram. So if you can't learn, you can't study, then go ask Sheikh. Don't ask Google or Instagram and get for answers. The one who fears Allah, the one who's conscious of Allah and who's looking for a ruling that will please Allah, not please you. Also from the etiquettes of uh, seeking sacred knowledge, and this is specifically for the one who has to provide for his family, or a woman, because uh, we live in an age where where women also work and they have to support their family. So in general, whoever it is, whether it is the father or the mother or the son or the some in some houses all of the children are working, mashallah. So whoever has a job, work, their adab, their etiquettes for this work, whether it is a employment or a business, the first adab, the first etiquette is to seek what is halal. You make this intention present when every day when you go to work. You go to your house in the morning and you say, I wish to have halal risk. And then you say this dua, Oh Allah, Allahumma aghnini bihalalika an haramik, wa bi ta'atika an ma'asiyatik, wa bi fadlika amman siwak. Make this dua with you, keep this dua with you until you die. Allahumma aghnini bihalalika an haramik, wa bi ta'atika an ma'asiyatik. وبطاعتك عن بمعصيتك عن معصيتك. And then the second etiquette is to be pleased with whatever Allah has provision for you. And being pleased with whatever is provision for you does not mean you don't grow. And this is something really important. From the means of being deprived of your risk, of your provisions, and listen to this, those who are looking for work. From the means of the reasons one is deprived of his provisions is that the youth or the person who's looking for work, he specifies something in his mind. He says either this or nothing. Either I get this or I won't work. Or I'll only work in this place, in this country. Maybe there's work elsewhere. Either I'll find work in my city or I won't find work. You have limited yourself and then you complain, oh Allah, you didn't give me rizq. You restricted yourself. Maybe Allah wrote your rizq to be in another country, your provisions to be in another country, and it would be a lot better. You don't want it, that's your and then you complain to your Lord saying that you didn't give me a rizq. And if He does give you rizq, you say it's always too less. And this is how humans are. He's always he's complaining and while his origins are just a drop of sperm, and then he turned into uh, like a zygote, and then Allah put he formed you in your mother's womb, and you want to philosophize all of these things when you came out of your mother's womb not knowing anything. Did you forget that we fed you since you were a small child, or and even when you're grown up, to the point the Quran forbids the people from killing their children because of poverty or being afraid of poverty. Meaning, he has a child and he's afraid of poverty, so he would uh, uh, or if he's poor and this used to be happen. This used to happen before pre-Islamic times, that when they would see that they don't have any risk, they would go and just kill their children. And then that's people who kill their children because of poverty. And then there are people who kill because they're afraid of poverty. Like uh, uh, his wife became pregnant, and he already has five, six children, and then he tells his wife, "You need to have uh, abortion." And she says, "Why?" And he's like, don't you see how many kids we have? How will we look after this? Where are we gonna educate it? This is killing your child out of fear of poverty. Allah says you won't feed him. We'll feed the child and you. The provisions of you, the wife, or children are upon Allah. You are just uh, handed over the responsibility, as in entrusted that the money that you're getting is to be distributed, and if you didn't get married, you wouldn't get it. Like, and you see in some companies, they give family benefits, student allowances, etc. And for bachelors they don't. So this is the fourth etiquette. The fifth etiquette, that you learn the rulings with regards to the work that you're doing. If you're buying, then you need to know the rulings of buying. If you are somebody who trades, you need to know the rulings of trade. If you are a broker, you need to know the rulings of being a broker. If you do online trade, you need to know the rulings of online trade. If you are uh, you need to know the rulings of all the positions any position you hold. Also, from the etiquettes of risk is to go to work and you're in the state of wudu, because wudu is the means of getting risk and having blessings in it. And this is from the secrets of worship. Nobody understands, not a lot of people understand this. Also, from the etiquettes of work is that your work should not distract you from prayer. And by being distracted, you meaning the time passes and you haven't prayed, or you neglect it, you or you pray by yourself alone. This is also a type of neglecting prayer. And Habib learned from his teachers that a person may face a situation where he is that caused him to delay prayer. Like for instance, he got stuck in traffic, and he says the time for prayer in the mosque, and the time for prayer in the mosque is finished, but his heart is connected to the mosque. He he'll find he'll find someone who will come to pray for him. Allah will create that person to come and pray. And this happened to for Habib. Uh, Habib got stuck in traffic, and he missed his prayer, missed in Jama'ah. And Habib said, "Oh Allah, you taught us from our teachers that we're not supposed to pray alone." So the mosque was empty and everything was empty, and all of a sudden, a person comes into the mosque and prays with you. And then you also make dua to Allah that Allah send me somebody who prays with you. And it could be somebody from another realm, it could be an angel in the form of a human. So don't pray alone. This is from the etiquettes of seeking a halal rizq. Then, if you then when you receive your salary uh, uh, or receive your wage, then if you want to go and buy food for your family or for your children or for yourself, then firstly go and buy what is halal, that doesn't have anything, any doubtful matters, and then wholesome good stuff. You choose food that is halal and tayyib, not that is foul or expired, because some grocery stores put uh, put discounts on food that is about to get expired, and they'll say, oh, 10 items for just 3 dirhams. It's true if somebody has uh, he has difficult or he has his means are not enough, then it's his excuse. But as for the one who has wealth, then don't be stingy with your family, because this 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 wealth is for your family. Thirdly, and this was something that is might be difficult, and get organic, healthy food, unless of course it's really expensive. Allah does not burden a person more than he can bear. Um, Also, when you buy, like for instance, you want to buy fruits, when you when you uh, when you lift your hand to pick up the food, you say Bismillah, and you say, Allah, make it a means for assisting my family in doing good, and and make it a means that I make a food uh, that I feed my noble guests, and only righteous eat from it. And these words and these intentions have a great impact on the food that you buy, whether you buy a kilo of tomatoes or potatoes, or if you want to buy clothes for yourself or your family, then you make the dua, oh Allah, make it a garment of taqwa. And oh Allah, whoever wears this, make it a means for him to strengthen in your obedience, and let not there be in it any kind of disease or evil eye or jealousy, etc. These etiquettes, we took these from our teachers, outwardly or inwardly, and they have amazing impact and effect that you cannot imagine, because the intention Maybe your words won't affect, maybe your lessons won't affect, but your intention will affect, because this is something that's inward. Through Because the Prophet ﷺ said the intention of a believer is better than his actions, and every person gets what he intends. Whatever you intend, you get. If you intended with this food that your body is strengthened uh, to serve Allah and to obey Allah, then that's what you'll get. Uh, oh Allah, feed us and our families and our friends and those we love that which is wholesome and good, that that which makes us be strengthened to do what is obligatory upon us, and that helps us to stand up to the cause of serving you and the Prophet ﷺ, to the point that it pleases you and the Prophet ﷺ. May Allah make us benefit from that which we have heard, that He blesses us with provisions that are halal and tayyib and wholesome. Al-Fatiha. There's no doubt that the extent of the spiritual assistance the murid receives from his sheikh is to the extent he has etiquettes before his sheikh, outward etiquettes and inward etiquettes, and inward etiquettes are more and more and more impactful. Even if you're sitting in school uh, uh, and you won't benefit from your teachers unless you have that etiquette with them. Habib said, Jazakumullah for everyone to following. May Allah make all of you happy and grant us all blessed and halal food, and Allah enrich us with that with halal instead of your haram, and good deeds instead of bad deeds, and that we trust in you besides anyone else.